Hi everybody, foXnoMad here, and today I want to help you travel smarter by explaining a recent law change in Turkey, also known as Turkey. On July 10, 2025, Turkey's Bilgi Teknolojileri ve İletişim Kurumu, or BTK, known in English as the Information and Communication Technologies Authority, blocked access to several eSIM providers. For those of you traveling to and visiting Turkey, these new restrictions may impact the mobile data on your phone. Here's what you need to know. I've made several videos about eSIMs, which I'll link to in the description below, but in short, an electronic SIM is a digital version of a physical SIM card. Those cards, whether they're physical or not, have information and credentials which tell a mobile network operator that your phone has permission to use its network. As an example, let's say you use Vodafone or Verizon or any other mobile carrier. The SIM, electronic or otherwise, acts like an ID for your phone that tells the operator, hey, this phone can use our network. And a lot of people use the term eSIM loosely when they're really talking about eSIM providers, so let me clear up some of that confusion. An eSIM is the technology that's replacing physical SIM cards. Most new phones don't even have physical SIM slots anymore, and almost all mobile operators have a way for you to install an eSIM when you sign up to their service. Turkey is not banning eSIMs or eSIM technology, but rather they are banning access to several eSIM providers. Specifically, at the time of filming this video, that's Airalo, AloSIM, BNeSIM, Olafly, Instabridge, Mobimatter, and Sally. More eSIM providers may be added, and the Turkish government has given no official reason for the ban. So, a few things. eSIM platforms and providers are essentially online stores where you can purchase local eSIMs for countries around the world. Let's say you're flying to England or Bhutan and want to have mobile data. Then using a service like BNeSIM or Airalo, you would buy a plan for a short time period, maybe a few days or 1 month, with a data package of, for example, 5 gigabytes. This is super convenient because before you would have to buy a local SIM card, which could be a hassle and take time out of your trip, but now in 5 minutes you can buy a local eSIM in most any country in the world. At the moment, if you're in Turkey, you can pretty much use any other eSIM provider that's not on the banned list. And maybe you already do use an eSIM provider that's not on the banned list, so this legal change really doesn't affect you. But how Turkey is implementing the ban also means you can still access some of those restricted providers with a few caveats. I've reached out to the companies on the banned list, and many have confirmed if you purchase a Turkish eSIM from their online stores and activate it before arriving in Turkey, then your eSIM will work normally. You might be in the habit of activating your eSIM upon arrival in a new country, but for all trips to Turkey, just do it the day before your trip. And there are even more ways to get around the eSIM ban if you are already in Turkey because of the technical ways that the BTK is implementing this new restriction. The Turkish ban on eSIM providers is being done by just blocking access to the online stores. It's essentially a website block, and Turkey has a history of blocking access to websites like YouTube and Wikipedia, typically through a combination of DNS, IP, and domain blocks. At the moment, it looks like this is the case in Turkey. A DNS and domain block has been applied to the eSIM providers. And I know many of you already know what I'm going to say next. The way to get around these blocks is to use a good VPN. I'll also link to a video I've made about my recommended VPNs down in the description, and most of the VPNs on that list will give you access to the banned eSIM provider stores, allow you to purchase eSIMs, and even activate them even if you are already in Turkey. I would still recommend, if you are going to use one of those banned eSIM providers, to purchase your eSIM outside of Turkey and activate it the day before your trip, just to make things easier for yourself. And the technical way that the ban is being implemented could change, and that could make it a little bit more difficult to get around those blocks with using a VPN. So just make it easier for yourself and purchase your eSIM and activate it the day before your trip. You can also just use a local Turkish provider when you arrive in Turkey, which is more of a hassle and, like I mentioned, involves you having to go to a store, fill out forms, and takes time away from your trip, which might actually be part of the reason why the Turkish government has implemented this ban. Getting an eSIM from a local provider means more money directly to the Turkish carriers themselves, the main three being Türk Telekom, Turkcell, and Vodafone. But the relationship between those carriers and the eSIM providers is a little bit complicated. I bet you aren't guessing that the mobile networking world was filled with this much drama. For any SIM or eSIM to work on a network, it needs access to cell towers. Cellular network hardware is expensive to build and maintain, and most networks are not operating anywhere near their potential capacity across the network. Basically, mobile network carriers who own the hardware have their customers, but they've got a lot of extra bandwidth on those networks. To further monetize their business, remember those towers are billions of dollars expensive, mobile carriers often lease out a part of their network capacity to mobile virtual network operators or MVNOs. You can kind of think of it like this. Let's say I own a bakery, which is expensive, right? I've got an oven, I've got to pay rent for a place big enough for a bakery, I've got to pay for staff and ingredients and all of those things. I know to make my bakery run, I've got to sell about 100 cupcakes every day. But some days I sell 90 cupcakes, and other days I sell 60. But if I sell 100 cupcakes, that means I either have to close my bakery down for the day or make a whole new batch of cupcakes because I can't make one at a time. That just doesn't make sense. It's not very cost effective. So I have to kind of make a little bit more, a few more cupcakes than I would need every single day so I don't run out. And what that means is there's often a little bit of surplus in my cupcake bakery every day. Now let's say that you have a cafe. Your cafe is smaller, it doesn't have an oven, that would all be too expensive for you. You're also not in the business of making cupcakes, but you still want to offer some snacks to your guests. So what you do is you approach me, who has the bakery and has a surplus of cupcakes every day, and you say, hey, I'd like to buy 20 cupcakes a day. And I gladly oblige. I say, here, you can have 20 cupcakes, I'll sell them to you, and then you can resell them for whatever price you see fit. I've now sold my surplus, made a little bit of money. You're now selling cupcakes at your cafe, making a little bit more money than you would otherwise, and saving on the cost of an oven, and it all kind of works out for both of us. And that analogy applies to mobile network operators and MVNOs, and it's really important to understand why this ban is being implemented in the way it is, and some of the possible complications. MVNOs and eSIM providers are selling those extra cupcakes they bought from local Turkish mobile network providers. They have to have deals with local mobile providers for access to their networks everywhere in the world, otherwise they wouldn't be able to use those networks and provide their customers with data. Companies like Nomad and Mobimatter are not building cell towers, they're using the local ones by partnering with local providers. The MVNOs are reselling those cupcakes and their cafes are not based in Turkey, even when they're selling Turkish eSIMs. But it's not cupcakes, but rather servers. When you buy an eSIM from Airlo for Turkey, for example, and install it, that eSIM has the credentials for you to gain access to a given Turkish mobile network. But it's ultimately Airlo that has the data about you. They know what eSIMs you've bought and when, your name, and other sign-up information, none of which the Turkish government theoretically has access to. And the Information and Communication Technologies Authority in Turkey requires user data and critical telecom infrastructure to be stored and managed within Turkey's borders. Also, as the website Romi reports, foreign eSIM companies are not registered as official telecom operators within Turkey and therefore do not fall under BTK's direct regulatory authority. Going forward, the Turkish government could require those banned eSIM providers to provide the Turkish government with user data on the Turkish eSIMs that they sell. They could also require those banned eSIM providers to obtain mobile operating network licenses within Turkey, or ban outright the collaboration between the local mobile networks and those eSIM providers. But I think all of that in the short term is fairly unlikely because, well, money. Remember, eSIM providers are paying Turkish companies to use their networks, and that chunk of money to those Turkish providers is a sizable amount, I would imagine, and it's a reliable income stream that they probably don't want to lose. At the moment, many of the banned eSIM providers are waiting for clarification from the Turkish government, and I'll keep you updated with any changes that occur, so make sure that you're subscribed to this channel so you don't miss any of those. For now though, ban sounds worse than it is, because really you can use any of the eSIM providers not on the banned list, or you can simply buy your eSIM from those banned providers before you get to Turkey and activate it before your trip, which is good practice in general, so that you have internet access right when you land on the plane and you can send all your messages and check Instagram and feed the dopamine that is your phone. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. I hope it clears some things up for you, but if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments below. And while you're down there, hit the like and subscribe buttons. I'll have new videos for you every week, and I'll see you in the next video.